This is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about Bertha Gifford, which
Mm-hmm.
is a name.
My mom used to call her this old car we had Bertha.
That's the thing. It's an old
It's
name.
old, yeah. Well,
It's
and this takes place in
old.
the early 1900s, so
I was gonna say, is it like the 20s or 30s?
yeah.
Maybe.
I think more like 1900, 1910.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's
All
old.
right. And then I am going to be talking about Leif Erikson.
Ooh.
It's a very heavy history segment for us.
Getting back to your historical roots that you love.
I know. It's so funny because when I explain our podcast to people, I'm like, well, we do like true crime, history, and paranormal, but it's kind of evolved over the last couple of years. And Ashley tends to like drift more towards the true crime, and I'm drifting towards the history part of it, and which I
Mm-hmm.
think is fun. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yeah, we gotta hit the paranormal a little bit harder. Since Rochelle left, we don't have our paranormal gal, so you and I are gonna
Yeah.
have to hit that a little bit harder.
I know. I think I'm gonna do one next week.
Ooh, okay.
I have an idea already.
Oh, I'm doing true crime again. Shocker, shocker. So not next week, this
Nice.
week. Next week, I don't
Oh,
know what I'm
okay.
doing yet.
Okay. When did you start researching today?
Uh,
All right, well,
I always
start.
do it the day of.
You were so good the other week. You were like already researching by the time I mentioned we were recording.
Oh yeah, but that was like that was like 3 weeks ago, Jessica. That was a whole different Ashley.
I know. I still feel proud of you.
The week after that, I went back to the day of. So
I know. I make it a point to mention it to you that we're recording.
so I don't
Like,
forget.
yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, tell me about this Bertha girl.
Bertha. So I got my sources from an episode of Deadly Women.
Whoa.
Another website that's literally just berthagifford.com. So it's a whole website on her.
Gross.
And then Murderpedia. And I think I got a couple dates from Wikipedia. So Bertha, her name is Bertha Alice Williams Graham Gifford. That is her whole name.
That is a name.
That is a name.
Why do you need all those names?
I don't know. She's got a lot.
Like,
But she was born in 1871.
oh, wow.
Yeah. In a small community. And she actually moved to another small community in Catawissa, Missouri. I hope I'm saying that right. And Catawissa, Missouri was a farming community with just a few stores, like one or two. So it was really tiny. But everyone helped everyone, and that was no different for the new resident by the name of Bertha Gifford. Bertha was a kind soul. She would go to other people's houses when she knew someone was sick and offer to help them. She didn't have a medical background, but she just did the best she could. I think they said she had like a third grade education. She was a woman in the 1800s, so she didn't have a great education.
When we talk about her helping people, is this kind of like a Black Widow situation? Like Lady Death administering bad medicine?
It might be, it might be, it might be. And if your guess is correct, your guess is quicker than a lot of other people in the town. So
Really?
took them a while to figure that one out.
Wow. Okay. I mean, they didn't have all these stories coming in at them every single week for almost 3 years.
Yes, very true. But like I said, so she didn't have a medical background, but she helped as best she could, Jessica. And she helped until they recovered. But, not all survived. It's hard. It's hard out there for a early 20th century woman and sick people.
I mean, at least she was able to save some of them.
Yep. True, true, true. But the more the neighbors got to know her, the more they found out some shall we say, odd interests that she had. She was fascinated with death. She loved reading newspaper articles about death and she talked about it all the time, which I kind of, my first thought was like, well, I guess people could say that about me because I love true crime, but I don't like the death, right? I like the crime and the psychological aspect of it. She liked death.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. She also was a woman who needed to be in control, especially of her family. She was very domineering over her husband. And at one point, his mom, her husband's mom, Eugene's her husband, came to stay with them. And Bertha became very defensive and threatened by his mom being there. The scene that they showed in Deadly Women was where Emily, the mother-in-law, wanted to cook them dinner, and Bertha was not a fan because it was her family. She cooked for her family.
But like, let somebody else cook for you.
Right. Not Bertha.
Bertha.
Oddly enough, a few hours later, Emily became really ill. Oh, I forgot I wrote this. The actor that plays Eugene is really hot.
That's funny.
I wrote the actor for her husband Eugene. Wow. That's what I wrote.
Do you remember when I did that Western story like a year or so ago and Sam Hewen was in it in
Oh
like the
yeah.
reenactment? Yes, thank you. So
Yeah,
cute.
he was very handsome. I don't know his name. I didn't look him up, but he was hot. Anyway. But despite all of Bertha's experience with the nursing that she had been doing through the neighborhood, she couldn't save Emily, and Emily passed away.
And they didn't think that was suspicious
No, she just got sick, Jessica. She got sick. Okay. She just got
with
sick.
arsenic.
Well, they didn't know that. Also, good guess, because that is what she
Thank you.
but they didn't know that. She just got sick and
Colorless
died.
and odorless.
Exactly.
And it's hard to detect unless they do a very thorough autopsy, which wouldn't have been the case back then.
Exactly. And back then people got sick and passed away a lot. It
Yeah.
was hard
You're not going to do a
times.
thorough, Eric, you're not going to do a thorough autopsy on every single person.
Exactly. So a year later, Eugene's younger brother James, who came to stay with Eugene and Bertha, also becomes ill.
What did he ever do?
I don't know, but she took him out. Poor kid was 13.
What?
That's not even the worst one.
Oh my gosh.
So I think, as we can all tell at this point, she is a murderer. And someone in the documentary, one of the forensic scientists or whatever, he said, her fascination was not being fed regularly enough, so she was making it happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's gross.
So this is the worst one.
Did she have children?
Yeah, she had one son named James. And as far as I know, he lived.
Wasn't that her brother-in-law's name?
No, his name was, yes, James. For some reason, I thought it was Billy. Definitely James.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if he named his son after his brother,
And then his brother died.
No.
That's so sad.
This one's the worst.
No.
3-year-old. I think her name was, I think you said it. Boo. Balua? Balua?
Balula?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Balula, a 3-year-old Balula, who is a cousin of Bertha, arrived to stay with Bertha for a bit while her mom got some things done. So I think it was just like an overnight visit. By the time her mom got back, her daughter was, quote, crippled by cramps and she died by the next morning. She was 3. Yeah.
How do you have a kid and do something like that?
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Like I
Especially
don't
because it's painful to die from arsenic.
and I just don't understand because a lot of serial killers have families, they
I
have
know.
children,
I know.
and then they kill children.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make any sense? How do you do that?
I don't understand how you can compartmentalize like that, you know?
Also,
It's
peep
insane.
my stain.
Ooh. I think I got spit up on the shoulder earlier and I haven't changed yet.
Well, you have an excuse. I'm just messy.
Just a messy bitch. Um, I like how we skated right through that sadness. We're like, So a few months later, a poor farmhand named Ed Brimley stumbled upon the Gifford's doorstep drunk. Eugene took him in and laid him down, and of course, Bertha was willing to care for him. By the next morning, he was dead as well.
Do we know if this? Oh, no, that was a stupid question. Never
But
mind.
Bertha done messed with the wrong family, bitch. Because Ed's widow said, you know what? Enough is enough. Too many people are dying in Bertha's care, and now my husband's dead. And I'm over this bitch. So I'm sure she said it exactly like that. And so she called the
Quote for quote.
police. She called the police and they exhumed Ed's body and they did a very thorough autopsy and found extremely high levels of arsenic in his system. And so remember, this is the early 1900s. So a lot of medical treatment back then did use arsenic. So that was kind of what Bertha's excuse was like, well, that's part of my healing potion is there's a little arsenic. But they looked into it and they exhumed 2 more bodies of people that had died in her care. And they found that they all had enough arsenic in their bodies to kill 7 people. So that's not just a little bit that you're using in some medicinal way.
Holy crap.
They continued to look into it and found that Bertha's healing potions killed 17 people.
Holy crap.
For a small town, too. That's like half the town.
Literally. Holy crap.
They found that she was purchasing arsenic on a regular basis, but she said that there were a lot of rats in her barn she was trying to get rid of. Obviously, that was not the case.
You dumb bitch.
Yeah. One investigator spoke to her and she said that she did not give the 3-year-old little girl arsenic, but that it was just in the little girl's system from eating too many nuts and seeds. The investigator.
What the fuck?
Yeah. The investigator then said, okay, but who did you give it to? And an hour later, he had a signed confession. Bertha admitted to putting arsenic in medicine she gave to the Eugene's, or no, I'm sorry, a couple other victims, as well as Ed Brimley. And she said, I did it to ease their pains. And she later added, I told you about giving some of them arsenic. Maybe I gave some others arsenic too. Like, maybe. So she was arrested. And then she was like, oh, you know that confession? It wasn't real. I didn't do that. That wasn't a thing.
I feel like they shouldn't be able to recant.
Yeah. Yeah. The only
Like,
problem with that is that there's so many coerced confessions, you
yeah.
know? But she did, she recanted, and she also began moaning and pacing back and forth in her cell.
Oh, good. Did she down some arsenic herself?
No, she was angling for an insanity plea.
Oh,
Yeah. Eugene stuck by her. He said that she was just nervous when she did those things. They excited her and she made those statements. She didn't know what she was saying about her confession because, she's just a crazy woman, Jessica. Just a crazy woman.
oh, stupid.
Bertha pled not guilty and the trial began. It only lasted for 4 days. The courthouse was packed and prosecution was going for the death penalty. Defense had Eugene take the stand and he said that uh, Bertha, poor Bertha, she was prone to bouts of melancholy. And her neighbors said that for a long time, Bertha had been nervous and excitable. So she's insane.
If a woman read a book, they were
She was
insane.
insane. Yeah. 5 other doctors spoke to Bertha in her cell and also determined that she was insane. The jury was out for 3 hours. There was one farmer that said he wanted an eye for an eye. And that's kind of what took so long for the jury, because otherwise they would have been done in like 2 minutes. She was found insane and she was sent to State Hospital number 4 in Farmington, where she lived out the rest of her life until she passed away in 1959 or 1951. And insane or not, Bertha is known as America's 4th female solo serial killer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't I don't understand how people can do that.
I don't either.
Or the fact that Eugene just like
Stood by
stuck
her
by her side,
side. Yeah.
even though she killed his brother.
And mother.
Yeah, and 3-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Eugene died in 58. He died shortly after she did, but yeah.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a little bit of history there,
Mm-hmm. No, that was cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was not enjoyable, the children part.
Yeah, that was
But
pretty awful. I hated that.
all right. Are we ready
We are ready.
for the shit show?
Yes.
All right. So my sources are All That's Interesting, and history.com.
Oh.
And I'm doing Leif Erikson. He was the first Viking in North America.
Oh.
The reason I wanted to research him is because I'm really big into Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is all about the Vikings. And so I wanted to do this story, and I was halfway through researching it. And at that point, you just can't stop and you're not going to start over.
Right. I'm
And
a
I
Viking.
realized,
Did you know that?
no.
Yeah, I have a pretty big amount of Norwegian in me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a bit of Norwegian in me as well.
Oh.
But I was halfway through and realized that I am not going to be able to pronounce any of these names.
Yeah, Norwegian's not an easy language.
And I even looked them up and I can't pronounce them. So we're just going to go on this wild ride together where I am going to attempt
You'll do your
to
best.
speak this language. But even when I'm playing Assassin's Creed, I have the subtitles on and sometimes they have the Norwegian words there. And it's like, it doesn't sound anything like it looks. So,
Yeah, it's hard. It's not an easy language, especially like Old Norwegian that you're going to be talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good luck
let's
to you.
go. Thanks. The controversy surrounding Christopher Columbus has grown in recent years. Discussions of his discovery of North America must take into account the horrifying massacre and treatment of Native Americans that followed. The fact that Columbus never ever set foot on mainland North America has also gained increased notoriety. However, there is evidence that Leif Erikson, another European adventurer, did. Many academics today think that Viking explorer Leif Erikson entered North America around 1000 AD, which may have made him the first
Wow.
European to ever set foot in the New World.
I can't even like wrap my head around 1000 AD. Like 1000.
I know.
That's so early.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Even the BC, like, that's wild.
That's that's not a time. Like that's not a thing. That didn't happen.
All right. Ashley says it didn't
It
happen,
didn't happen.
guys.
I can't. My brain can't fathom that. That's just not a thing.
It's crazy. So this was all based off of historical narratives and archaeological evidence that they discovered in 1960. So, who the fuck was he? He
Sorry, I'm
most like
just chilling.
that's okay. He most likely was born in Iceland in the year, Ashley, get this, 970 to 980.
That's not a thing. Also, I would give my left nut to live in Iceland. God, I love
Right?
Iceland.
It's
Oh,
beautiful.
oh my
Like in the game, you like they went over to England
God.
from Norway. And then later on in the game, you get to go back to like Iceland and Norway and all these different places. And it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful there. And like the people were so nice and there's like zero crime. And oh God, I loved Iceland. It's like another world. It's like, there's nothing like, it's just gorgeous.
Except you can't speak the language.
Yeah, their language is real hard. I tried to
Mhm.
learn how to say thank you and it was real hard. But almost everyone over there speaks English too, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Eric the Red, who founded the first Viking settlement in Greenland in 985 AD after being exiled from Iceland for murder, gave him the moniker Leif the Lucky. So, Leif Erikson's nickname is Leif the Lucky. Young Erikson encountered affluent farmers and chieftains who were explorers in Greenland. Maybe that's why he made the decision to sail across the Atlantic one summer. The truth is that neither this nor a large portion of Erikson's life have been conclusively proven by historians.
Oh, interesting.
It's difficult to fully comprehend the history of Vikings as a whole. So, Leif Erikson's genealogy is depicted in the 13th century Vinland sagas, a collection of tales that begins with his father, Eric the Red, in the collection that bears his name, Eric the Red's Saga.
And it's hard. They didn't have great. So my dad's tried to trace back our ancestors and he gets stuck in Norway because they didn't have a lot of great records. And two, their naming system was really hard. So like you would part of your name would be like the town you were in. So there was like a whole bunch
Yeah.
of them. And it's really, really hard to kind of trace that back.
Yeah. So these tales in this saga provide the majority of the material that historians have about Erikson. So not great concrete evidence.
Yeah. But it's all they have.
Yeah. The saga of the Greenlanders comes next. Both documents are not totally factual, though. Surprise, surprise. These stories serve as semi historical accounts that support the claim that Leif Erikson arrived in America hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus. But that does not imply that these stories are entirely trustworthy sources, which we keep telling you guys. After all, more than 200 years have passed since the events described in these testimonies. However, the documents do imply that these incidents really did take place. They most likely made reference to real individuals and real events in oral histories that were passed down. So at least they have some of it as being solid proof.
Yeah.
The discovery of Norse village ruins at Lons-aux-Meadows in Newfoundland in the 1960s is arguably the greatest piece of evidence that we have. These ruins were located exactly where the Vikings were reported to have made their home. But before this proof was discovered, Leif Erikson's travel diaries were the only accounts of his exploits. The versions of his arrival in North America differ. According to one story in Eric the Red's saga, Leif was sailing back to Norway when he was blown off course in the Atlantic and unintentionally landed on American soil. Meanwhile, the saga of the Greenlanders illustrates how the Vikings' journey to North America wasn't a mistake. According to legend, Jesus Murphy, Bjarni Herjolfsson, an Icelandic trader, told Erikson about the undiscovered continent after he had accidentally discovered it 10 years earlier while traveling to Greenland. Hjorfsson, however, never got off the ship, giving Erikson the potential opportunity to be the first European to land in North America. According to the story told in the saga of the Greenlanders, Erikson acquired Hjorfsson's ship, gathered a 35-man crew, and successfully followed the trader's voyage. Helluland, or stone slab land, was an area of stone-covered land that the crew found after crossing the Atlantic. This could either be Labrador or Baffin Island. Oh, Nini!
Welcome, Neil, everyone. My kitty.
See if my kitty's out here. Nope. Okay. She's been really clingy lately. Anyways. Finally, they established a base at a place called Leif's Booths, which was possibly somewhere around the northern tip of Newfoundland. They first arrived in a forested area they named Markland, or Forest Land, which was presumably also Labrador.
For some reason, and I don't know why, I thought you were going to say it was presumably haunted.
Imagine. That would be great. But no. According to legend, the Viking group traveled south and came across a fascinating location filled with grapes and timber. Vinland, or Wineland, is how they referred to this region. According to reports, Erikson and his men stayed there the entire winter, taking advantage of the pleasant climate, exploring the meadows, and indulging on salmon and grapes.
Ooh, that sounds like my kind of time.
Right? With lumber and grapes in tow, the Vikings returned to Greenland at the end of the tale. According to the saga of the Greenlanders, Erikson didn't come back to the New World. This may have been due to the fact that Erikson's brother, Thorvald, was later killed during another Viking voyage to Vinland following a conflict between the Norsemen and the local natives.
Hmm.
Although Leif Erikson was last mentioned in writing in 1019 AD, and his son took over as chieftain in 1025 AD, little is known for certain about his final years, which is sad.
Yeah.
Leif Erikson allegedly Leif Erikson's alleged finding is depicted differently in Eric the Red's saga. So sick of like being ahead of my brain. The most blatant way in which the saga deviates from the saga of the Greenlanders is by referring to Leifsfjord as Stromfjord, or the Ford of Currents, rather than Leifsfjord. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's conceivable that this is the case since Eric the Red saga was intentionally created to downplay Leif Erikson's accomplishments
Rude.
in favor of Gudrid and Karlsefni, his sister-in-law and her husband. Karlsef? I don't know, whatever. The two were portrayed throughout the story as leading the exploration of the New World on a lone journey to Vinland.
Hmm.
This alternative story is attributed to a 13th century campaign that placed emphasis on canonizing Bishop Bjorn Gilson, who was the couple's direct descendant.
Oh.
And the plot thickens. According to reports, the couple built a makeshift community in Stromfjord that housed 70 to 90 individuals. This base camp is thought to have served as a launch pad for additional trips to gather lumber, grapes, furs, and any other valuable or useful resources to bring back to Greenland. Oh, I thought she was like staring straight up, and I was like, the fuck is she looking at?
That's so creepy. Now
It
she's
was
sleeping.
really nice. It didn't matter if the core was called Stromfjord or Leifsfjord. It was still thought to have been located at the northernmost point of Newfoundland, where archaeological remains of a Norse settlement were found in the 1960s by Norwegian explorer Helge Ingstad, his wife, and a group of archaeologists. How freaking cool!
That is really, really cool.
Like, how freaking cool! Oh my gosh, you got to see the pictures. They're really cool. There were 8 structures,
Wow.
including huts and halls for the chieftains.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
8 buildings. How wild is that?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
An additional find at this location, according to ancient origins, revealed a modest church honoring Erikson's mother, Theodhild. It could comfortably accommodate 20 to 30 people, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
There were also 144 skeletons discovered throughout the excavation procedure.
Oh, wow.
These were tall, powerful people, according to the majority of the remains, which provided more support for the possibility that they were Scandinavian. The Viking settlement did, in fact, closely match Erikson's depiction of Vinland, according to the BBC.
Oh.
These findings provide compelling scientific proof that each of these tales were at least loosely based off of historical reality. The town has since been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow, that's cool.
I know. And we were going to go see it like 5 or 6 years ago when we went on our first trip out east together. But we just weren't able to fit Newfoundland into our itinerary.
Gotcha.
Because we were going through Canada there and then coming back home through the States, and we had everything kind of planned out. And to get over to Newfoundland, we would have to have taken a ferry.
Oh, okay.
And it was just going to take up too much of our time.
So when I was in middle school, we had a whole Canadian unit and we had to pick a province and do a report on it. And I picked Newfoundland.
Oh,
FYI,
nice.
fun facts.
I thought you chose Nova Scotia.
Oh, maybe I did. I
Yeah,
don't
because
know
that's
anymore. One of the ends. I did one of the ends. What is the one? What's the province that the Titanic? Uh,
Nova Scotia.
okay, then it was Nova Scotia. Never mind. Keep going. Ignore me.
Okay. I will. Despite the evidence, Christopher Columbus has been firmly established in conventional history as the figurehead of European discovery and subsequent settlement of North America. The moment when Leif Erikson discovered America, on the other hand, has been eclipsed.
Yeah. And
But
Columbus was an
how?
asshole anyway, so
Yes. So, how did this even happen? How did Leif Erikson just get blown over the bus?
yeah.
So, Colorado was the first state to formally acknowledge Columbus Day in 1907. A few years later, 15 states adopted it, and it was made a federal holiday in 1971.
Hmm.
Every October 9th, a specialized holiday is observed to mark the day Leif Erikson discovered America. In 1954, this was declared a national holiday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Given how divisive Columbus Day is, the movement to replace it with Leif Erikson Day has in some ways evolved into a substitute for people who find it too unsettling to observe Columbus Day.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of it, but that's a good idea.
Yeah. However, it is important to keep in mind that the Vikings might not have gotten along well with the indigenous people that they met,
True.
especially in light of the account of Erikson's brother being killed in conflict with them.
Yeah.
Additionally, it's important to note that the movement to honor Erikson over Columbus has shady origins and anti Catholic and anti Italian animosity.
Oh.
National Geographic claims that by the time Italian Americans commemorated the 400th anniversary of Columbus's discovery, America had become increasingly anti immigrant and suspicious of the Catholic Church. Joanne Mancini, a history professor at National University of Ireland and the author of Discovering Viking America, claimed that in the 19th century, non Catholic Americans were very anxious about the Catholic Church. And as a result, rumors that the Vatican may have actively repressed Erikson's achievements grew.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Therefore, when Scandinavian immigrants pushed for their own narrative, the concept that there might be a story where the first Europeans to America are not Southern Europeans gained popularity at that time.
Oh.
However, Mancini contends that the story of Columbus's discovery eventually surpassed that of Leif Erikson due to a long history of Italian lobbyists and the theory that Columbus may have encouraged more European immigration to America than Erikson did.
Hmm.
Mancini said, quote, "If you think about the subsequent history of the European conquest of America that comes from Columbus, it doesn't come from Leif Erikson. It's interesting that the Vikings were able to cross the Atlantic, but Columbus had more of an impact in the long run," unquote. So it seems as though his popularity got more people to immigrate, right? Like you don't even know about Leif Erikson.
I mean, I heard the name, I knew of him, but
Yeah.
like you hear about
In
Christopher Columbus a lot more than you hear about Leif Erikson.
yes. So the discussion of how to commemorate the nation's past changes, along with how diverse American society has become.
Is that it for that sentence?
Yeah, apparently.
The end.
Sorry, everybody.
Well, that was great. Not fully finished, but great.
Oh my God. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there.
I love that. Thank you. That
Okay.
was really interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was.
Good.
I do want to take a quick minute and talk about something kind of serious. This
Oh no,
past
what?
well, this past week, my alma mater, Michigan State University, had a mass shooting. 3 people died and 5 people were injured. And the 3 people that died, one was like a freshman, one was a sophomore, I think one was a
Oh,
junior. And students were barricaded in their rooms, in their dorm rooms for hours because this guy was on foot and police were trying to find him. And it was a really terrible thing. And I want to say, my thoughts and prayers are with them, but it's just so cliche now. And the gun violence needs to end in America. It's insane. But I do want to just put that out there for my fellow Spartans, that we are, as a community, all here for you, and hope to get you through this quickly.
well, that's a sad way to end this.
I know I was thinking about saying it at the beginning, but then I was like, well, I don't want to start it off on that note. And so on that note, we are going to skip jokes this week, and just want to really take time to just kind of, I don't even know, just hope for a better future. And if you want to, help, there's a lot of things out there for the MSU students right now, that you can either, donate money or time or whatever. So, if you would like to, we'll post whatever links that we have for this massacre, and we're going to kind of leave this episode on that note. So we look forward to bringing you 2 news stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.